Hey everyone, my name is Will. I'm the CEO of Phonely, and today I want to walk you through a super quick tutorial on agent guidelines, giving you everything that you need to know to build guidelines that is going to help your business and help your agent do what it needs to do. So first off, to get to the agent's guideline tab, you just simply click on Agent Design, and then you'll see the agent guidelines right up top here. To edit them, you can click on Configure, and let's talk through a little bit about what the agent guidelines actually does. So the agent guidelines is also kind of known as like a system prompt in engineering terms. And basically what it does is allows you to put in context that's going to be available at all times during the conversation with Phonely. So that means that at any stage of any flow block that you're in, or any other subsequent flow that you're in, you can have the agent guidelines be applied to that. And so what it's really good for, and why it's valuable, is it's valuable for letting you drive and steer the personality, the context, the general aura and feel of an agent. So if this was a person that we were talking about here, well, the guidelines would be stuff that they kind of knew how to do, or were kind of trained on, like their personality, their conversational tips, a list of rebuttals, things that can happen at any point in the conversation and aren't specific to a flow. Now, a lot of other systems only have this feature, which is only the ability to add like a system prompt. And we've realized that while system prompts are valuable, the ability to be able to branch out and build complicated flows integrated with tools is much more valuable. So let me go through some specific examples of valuable things that guidelines can do. So to get started, we have set up some guidelines that we think work pretty well for our agent, but obviously you can explore on your own here, and your friends ChatGPT can help you write these, or you can just put in the most important information that you have here. I guess I would recommend not just going and like saying ChatGPT, what should I set for my agent guidelines? Because Phonely already has a bunch of stuff baked into it. I would recommend just going in here and just putting the information that you know that you need. And so stuff that we see that works decently well is giving it a role. I want my agent to be friendly, lively, playful customer support agent that tells jokes when it can. So if you talk to our demo on our website, it's using this one that we have here. Conversational tips. So sometimes during the conversation, you notice that the AI is saying something a little bit weird, like right, and it says correct instead of right, and right feels much more natural in a conversation. So you just tell it that's what you want it to do, and then it will remember that for any point in the conversation. We don't want to be overly apologetic. Sometimes these models have the tendency to like say sorry all the time, which is a little bit weird, but I don't think that that's super necessary. It's mostly been kind of tuned out, but that used to be a thing maybe back like 6 months ago. The next thing we do is we give it personality. So I realize this is a demo organization, but we could say, here, we could put in Phonely, and give some friendly, warm, some personality traits to it, although probably doesn't need it because it understands a lot from general context. The next thing that we've seen work really well is put in common rebuttal. So if you're doing any sort of qualification, appointment booking, or just wanted to be like, front line, putting in specific rebuttals here that people might say during the conversation, but you're not sure when they're going to say, and then giving like examples of what to say if somebody says that is a really good use case for this spot. So rather than putting this in the knowledge base, I actually recommend putting this information inside of here. And I will talk a little bit about the difference between a knowledge base and the agent guidelines if you'd like to know more about that as well. So that's, and then the other thing that we've seen that works well is putting in like a short piece of key information that's probably going to be used at all times during the conversation. So maybe the address, we've seen like real estate agents putting in addresses here of stuff that's available and stuff that isn't available, so that if somebody asks any point during the conversation, it will automatically be able to pull that up if they didn't want to use a custom integration. Maybe like a phone number, maybe the website, anything that like would not necessarily be retrieved in the knowledge base, you can put here as well. I wouldn't recommend putting a ton of context here because that's where you would put that in the knowledge base, but if you have just relatively few pieces of information, frequently asked questions that are very, very common, I'd actually recommend checking them here. Finally, what we do is like specific scenarios, so if there's stuff that we want, like a customer's frustrated, this is how we should handle it, I put those there as well. So I think the last thing to talk about is the difference between the guidelines and the knowledge base. So the guidelines are basically used to drive the conversational flow. From the model's perspective, it's like something that's like stored in the brain, right? So it's stored in the system prompt, it's getting passed through every single time that conversation occurs. So it's basically up in the brain of the agent. Now, the knowledge base, which we can access over here, the knowledge base is going to be basically something that is going to be almost like a Google search, but way more smart. So the idea is that when some trigger kind of keywords get occurred, then we're probably going to reference the knowledge base and we're going to retrieve that information. So in technical terms, the knowledge base uses RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, which basically just means we're running a language model search over a bunch of vector databases to see which one matches. So it's kind of like a search. And so the knowledge base works really well for pulling up general context around maybe like pricing, maybe frequently asked questions. Maybe if you have like a ton of context and you want your language model to like parse through that context and find the relevant information. For example, if you wanted to say, what was on page 357 of Harry Potter Sorcerer of Stone, well, it could pull that information up and answer it, but that you wouldn't want to pass in the entire book into the agent guidelines. So I hope that helps you understand the difference between the knowledge base and the guidelines, and has a little bit of context as to how you can best use Phonely to answer your phone agent. So thank you so much for watching the video to the end. We can't wait to help your business and see what you build inside of Phonely. And if you haven't tried out Phonely and if you're just checking this out, you can get started completely for free. You can get a phone number for free. You can connect that to your phones for free by using our platform, and you can do a ton more stuff that we're not mentioning in this video, but you should definitely check out some of our other YouTube videos to learn more about that. Thanks so much for watching this video to the end, and we can't wait to see what you build in our platform.